On air. All right. Are you good?
Yep.
About 50 seconds.
Don't know what the level is like coming from here yet.
Oh yeah, then good point. Let's do that.
Like that should be the name of the Yep, should be going
Hello, dear listeners. This is the Soundscape Show. My name's Brady Marks, and today we have Lee Hutzulak.
Hi, Brady.
Okay, perfect. So it's a very auspicious week, year, day, month. How long has this new album been around?
Just over 2 months.
2 months.
Came out, yeah.
So Dixie's Death Pool, Twilight Sound Mountain.
Twilight Sound Mountain.
With commas.
Yes.
Commas are... I need to slow down. We've just been rapidly setting up a lot of gear in the studio here. So we're going to do a half kind of interview, CD release, celebration, and feature tracks from the new album. But Lee's also going to do a track dissection for us. And the track in question is called Teenagers.
Teenagers, yeah.
Teenagers.
All of my working files for it are called Trees. A lot of the songs changed titles as I went, but yeah. So this song, it's about 3 minutes long, and it's maybe, I don't know, 70 or 80 tracks. It was kind of intimidating. It was one of the songs that I sort of just ran into a wall trying to mix it on a 13-inch laptop because I couldn't see anywhere near the number of tracks that I had going on. So I kind of had to do submixes and.
Yes, I see a lot of color coding on your screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just step back a bit. So we started the show with a track called Loose Falling. That was the one that started with the low Wurlitzer note.
Yeah.
And then we played, that was off the new album. And then we played a track from the previous album.
From Twin Galaxies.
Yes, Twin Galaxies, which is not what I have in my hand.
Yeah.
Which one was that? I think it was something falling. Was it called Leaves Falling? No. It was called Tricks with Sleep.
No. That's what we were going to play, but we ended up playing the Uncanny Valley.
Oh, the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Right.
Which features my son Cosmo.
That's why
making
I heard
some
the little kid.
I was filming him when he was making those sounds through a warped lens, and he looked like an alien, which was kind of the inspiration for the Uncanny Valley because, almost human and these weird kind of cooing sounds. Yeah.
I should just mention, for those of you who don't know what the Uncanny Valley is, it's used in, I know in robot design, they talk about the Uncanny Valley as being like, if you make like a cute robot that doesn't look like a human, people are like, well, that's cute and acceptable. And then if you make like a replicant that looks exactly like a human, then they're like, okay, well, that's, we can't tell the difference. But if you just go slightly away from those two poles, you get a dip in the response where the androids look like a little too human to be comfortable, but not human enough to be. And people are like, well, that's the uncanniness.
We were in Japan this spring, and we had our first robot encounter outside of a pharmacy. It was kind of, it was really cute, this thing. Kind of had a big Wally, kind of like a Wally head, and it had a TV kind of chest, so it would advertise specials from the pharmacy, but you could actually talk to it, and it would make human gestures and bow to you a little bit and say goodbye and hello. Because it had cameras for eyes, I guess, so it could kind of follow you.
Wow.
It was fascinating and really exciting, actually, I think.
It's just perfect that they have robots walking around in Japan already. Of course.
This one wasn't walking.
No, it wasn't walking.
It was kind of like a standing vacuum cleaner kind of model,
Great. Well, let's listen to the track "Teenagers," and then should we listen to it in its entirety?
Yeah. Why don't we listen to where it ended up, and then go back and we'll start
Pull it
from
apart.
where it began.
Yeah, because time will fly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe.
Well,
that's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's where I give up with it, basically.
You just couldn't jam anything more in.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a point where it's just more is not going to add anything.
Well, it's very brave of you to have so much in there, because I just, from a technical point of view, the more stuff you throw in, the harder you create a problem to mix. Like, it's just
For everything to find
exactly
a purpose in even being there. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the laptop was having issues playing it back. So I'd have to render it out to listen to what I was doing, which is typical in video, but for audio, generally you can hear exactly what you've done.
Yes.
But if it starts getting all spiky and sputtering, it's kind of hard to know exactly what you've got. But it started with an improvised jam. One morning, the genesis of this album, it started when my wife and son went to Japan for a summer holiday, and I stayed home and had turned my apartment into a recording studio.
Right, the bird house.
Yeah, and so this is one night towards the end of my bachelor time, and one morning, and I'd just written some words in a sketchbook, and had just picked up the guitar and put my hands on the fretboard, and I hadn't. This is what came out. We lay like teenagers on the floor, listening to our favorite vinyl. And it was only the fan and trees outside. I fell in love. Keep falling in love with you. I keep falling in love. So I got really excited with that.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful lyric. Let's just acknowledge that for status. It's really lovely. The word vinyl is a bit indistinct, so I'll just say that so that people at home can hear that. So we lay on the floor listening to vinyl and fell in love like teenagers.
Yeah. Yes.
It's very beautiful. So you said that's what came out, but not really, because reverb, panning, that's all.
Well, I had set up. I had like maybe 5 or 6 mics, and one of them was my reverb mic that was going to a stereo memory man with Hazarai, and I had
so you
it
did
going into
have-
2 speakers, and kind of in the back. But there's a little bit of post-production reverb in there too, because when I stopped it, you could hear that there was reverb. But I did have. These.
Right, so it was that arrangement of there's some reverb on the voice, and there's the guitar is like you're just is it your classic guitar on the lap configuration, and you're just stroking it with one finger? It feels like
well,
it feels so
you don't
casual.
even hear the guitar in the final version. It was
Right.
it was kind of just something to help bounce a melody off of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice chord. I can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah. So the next thing I thought to add was strings, and so I have these instruments, and I use them for recording situations. Pretty minimal what I can get out of them. So this is the violin I recorded.
So I see, just peeking over your shoulder here, at least 4 tracks of violin?
Yeah, it was one long track that I cut and then stacked and panned.
Right. Oh, so it's the same take.
The same long take just chopped up. And then cello.
It's funny because that violin sounds really lower than the cello. Throaty at least.
Certainly scratchier.
Scratchy.
It's a pretty nice cello, but the violin is kind of a beater. So this is what I added, and then I started to dip into the MIDI strings. I'll just give you a little sample of that.
Oh, yeah. The sampled ensemble.
And one of the big struggles was trying to do MIDI, cello, and violin right here, like to get a string quartet kind of busy string music. And ultimately I failed, but I figured a solution out. Into the horns. Horns, flutes.
Lee, can I ask you a hard question? Maybe not a hard question, but just like we were talking earlier about being fans of that podcast, the
Sonic Talk.
Sonic Talk today, and they were talking about like just making music for yourself, and they said something really inspiring. They said like if it sounds good to you, it's like you've won the game, and if someone else thinks it sounds good, then that's like double bonus round.
Yeah.
and I'm just imagining you making this. Is it a dialogue with yourself, or is it for your family, or is it for...
Oh, it's definitely not for my family.
Okay. But it's so much about your family. A lot of your songs and tracks, they're like a meditation on fatherhood and being a family.
Oh,
and
yeah. The immediate family, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Maybe not so much my brothers and sisters.
Right. And then the Dixie Death Pool, your brother's in it.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm prying a little bit, but just gently. And then also just thinking about like you're in that moment and you're stacking up these layers and trying for something, for a sound, for a memory, for where can you describe how that what that is for you. Is it a relationship just with what you...
I wanted to remember this moment
Mm-hmm.
that the song is about.
The original moment.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
lying
And then
on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And just frame that in I guess in a cinematic way.
That has the
And like, I
strengths.
really would love to make a video of this now.
Right.
You know, basically a literal video somewhat.
Mhm.
Maybe a kind of a Kleenex video, you know?
I can imagine the camera being really high, going looking down,
absolutely.
and the fan below it
yeah.
going through the
I
camera.
mean, it was a heat wave during this recording session in our apartment. It was a sauna. It was
Nice.
yeah. So I mean, I can picture the video quite clearly.
And you work very intuitively. Like you're stacking these sounds. Oh my gosh, it's just crazy.
So this is the. I'm just showing Brady the file that I ended up with as more and more stuff got piled in. One of the last editions was the lead violin played by Edgar Bridwell, and I'll just give you a little.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's no sample set. That's not MIDI.
And Edgar's partner, Anne Durazzo, played lironi, which is this medieval instrument. It's a really nice,
Super scratchy too.
scratchy buzz kind of sound to it. Fairly minor part in the mix, but it's there. And then Peggy Lee came and played. Let's see, where is Peggy?
Yeah, it's glitching out.
Here
Can't
we go.
handle
Okay.
it.
It did get a little messy, so some of the groupings was just like I would put chunks of audio wherever I could find a spot. So I mean, after a certain point, it was just a free for all. So I'm revisiting this file after it's been off my computer for a few months. So let's see, where are the bits of audio? One of the first people to add to this was Matt Skillings on the Wurlitzer.
Mm-hmm. So, just to expand this idea or demonstrate this idea, can we go back to that lead violin that you played that was very well nuanced or well articulated? And can we unmute everything and just play that section and see if we can find that in the mix? Nice. So we can hear it.
Yeah.
Quite
Oh, definitely.
clearly,
You can hear it. This is not the final mix. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what status this particular iteration of the file is at.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say that if you're just joining us, this is CFRO 100.5 FM, the Soundscape show, and we're doing a special dissection of a track by Lee Hutzulak and Dixie's Death Pool, which is the Border project of a new album entitled Twilight Sound Mountain. And the track is Teenagers. And I think, did you say, how many tracks did you say that were in here?
I haven't counted because there are multiple files where I would compress everything from that file and then move it into here because it was just more than the...
But I'm seeing at least 30 or 40 from here. I don't know, that's a rough guess.
There's this is under a folder or a sub thing called percussion, I think, yeah. There's a lot of random, really got into experimenting with what I could do with MIDI and just like piling notes and notes, just like no idea what's there, and then just copying and pasting notes. I don't know if you've played around with that too much.
I do use the MIDI quite a lot, mostly for external stuff these days. Oh wow.
And then let's see, there's like a bunch of processing going on there in Ableton. And this is an actual bell set. This is a beautiful old Roland synthesizer from the 70s. First commercially available monophonic synth, the SH3.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know the SH101.
This is Bowen Island Ferry, idling to leave. A little bit of the ambience in the end.
There literally could be a kitchen sink in here.
Well, there's a toy laser gun anyways. One of the really fun sounds in here was Cosmo, my son, maybe three years old, screaming, and I really wanted to record this giddy excitement, so we went over to my neighbors, Carrie, Joe, and Rob, and they're just down the hall. Great, Cosmo just loved them, and so he was up on the bed jumping around, and we recorded some awesome sounds.
Can we hear that in context?
Yeah, okay. Now, this, like I said, this isn't the final mix by any stretch. There's the laser gun.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some more hard questions.
Yeah, right.
All right, so, I mean, you are kind of known for being very minimal.
But also maximal.
When did this happen? Is this would you say this is a new turn?
No, this is the conundrum with the digital medium for me, because I'm a perfectionist, and I know that there's a perfection from being able to do something and walk away and just leave it, and that's I want to do music like that as well. But this is kind of a different project. This is let's see what I can do let's just see how far I can go, and just keep until the stew is just right. So this is my dad's clock. Did a nice little recording of that. Little piano improv.
And then, okay, more questions. So, I know your
contact mic chain at a playground.
Contact mic chain.
Chain.
So, okay, you've got this huge library. How do you pick? Like, do you do it by memory? Do you
It's
just
by chance sometimes
do you
too.
throw things in and move
Yeah,
them
just
around?
throw them in, move them around. Yeah, absolutely.
How about tuning? Since everything's coming from all over the place, do you go back and figure out keys and things and then tune things up, or is it all intuitive?
Start with something that's in tune.
Right.
Yeah. So the
that-
guitar was
the-
in tune.
The guitar,
Yeah.
and then you're singing. I mean, your process is mostly intuitive, right? In terms of singing, and you don't notate. You don't.
Yeah. Well, this was an improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you don't even go backwards and say this is in C major. It's just it was in.
That's one cool thing about MIDI is when you play the notes, you can see what they are.
Right.
But I don't know what they are until I've played them, I guess, and then I can see. Oh yeah, that was a C. Right
And
there.
does it take you a long time because you can't really like anticipate what notes are going to go well? So you're just more like trying things out?
Well, this album overall was about 3 years in the making, I
Wow.
guess. So, I
Well,
mean, it
this
wasn't
would-
full on. I mean, I did reach an exhaustion
Yeah.
point, and I had to take a break, step away.
I see.
Yeah.
Let's give you a plug. Let's tell people where you can find the album and download it and listen to all of it.
Yeah.
I know you have a Bandcamp.
Yeah, definitely. The Bandcamp is the thing to do.
So is that Leisure Thief or Dixie's?
It's under Dixie's Death Pool
Dixie's Death-
Bandcamp.
Right.
Yeah.
So do have a look there. And I just think there's a really lovely quality to everything you're doing. So I want people to support that and really appreciate that.
More bits and pieces of.
Some harmonics.
It's Coco. Yeah, my guitar. And a guitar Lele makes a little bit of an appearance here.
A free jazz jam.
Auto harp has kind of been my stand-in for the orchestra, and is a great way to start building the more lush sounds. Let's see, I want to get some of Matt's piano here.
So this all comes together so consistently in the end. Is there any tricks of like bus compression or something like that to make everything live together, or radical EQing?
Well, you should take a look at the middle section. This is the song, the part of the song that took some time to figure out, but it's in an earlier version. So I will. There's the middle section where I think of it as in the Yellow Submarine, where they have the they break to the Foley kind of sounds, and there's like and the submarine kind of sounds. This is that part of the song where Cosmo's laughing and there's the laser gun and
Right, so it's less orchestrated and more events. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yes.
And
More Foley, more sound events.
I figured out a way to do it, and that was through the master track. I had all of these effects that like some major EQing and stuff to just put on top of everything, because it was just, I just didn't know how to deal with this, so I had to kind of clear the slate in a way. So the EQ sucks everything out.
Right, so I'm seeing a low pass filter with the cutoff is just sliding from high to low.
Yeah, and then it feeds
So
into a
much
delay and some reverb and stuff.
This kind of magical sleight of hand of just like, and now don't look at this as we hide it behind the black curtain.
Yeah. So I did that, sucked everything out, and then in a subsequent, I started. Okay, now I want to pull these things back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So after taking it away, then it was kind of like cleared that part of the canvas, and then I could pull in some, like, I wanted some metallic clanks and like just kind of playful chaos, I guess, basically.
Gorgeous.
We lay like teenagers on the floor, listening to our favorite vinyl. And it was only the fan and trees outside. I fell in love. Keep falling in love with you. I keep falling in love with you. I keep falling in love with you.